headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.
Let's move on, though, and let's talk about medical matters. And welcome to the studio, Dr Renee Hoenderkamp. How are you, Renee?
I'm good, Kevin. How are you?
I'm all right. Big day. We've got calls coming in for you already, and texts and tweets. But let's talk about one or two issues. Now, one thing, I did have all sorts of things lined up to talk to you about, but you've alerted me to something that some care homes, obviously with the withdrawing of the mandatory vaccine for NHS staff this week, the question was, well, can we get back the 40,000 care home staff who were sacked for not having the jab? Can they come back? But it seems, and you would have thought the care homes would have welcomed them with open arms, but it seems that they're sort of unilaterally still trying to keep a mandatory jab policy going. Tell us what's happened.
So I think they are, because I think the government have been quite underhand with this, and they've been very unclear, so people are confused. And while NHS England are instructing hospital trusts that they now must not issue letters to fire people because the consultation will take place over the next 2 weeks. Essentially, if you break down what Sajid Javid said in the House, was he said he will look to rescind the law, but he won't do that until he's had 2 weeks of consultation. And we have no details about who that consultation is with, how it will happen, what it will ask, and then he will put it to the will of the House. And we know how it was slipped through last time on the back of another vote, very quietly. And alongside that, he has said that he will look to his regulatory bodies like the CQC to make vaccination part of that process. He will look to professional bodies like the GMC and the NMC to make it a condition of being regulated. So for me as a doctor, I have to be appraised every year and revalidated every 5 years. And it looks like it's going to be part of that process. So I have to be vaccinated. And also, he will look to employers, the trusts and other places like care homes, to actually make it a condition of employment. So anybody who wants to be taken on fresh or wants to move jobs, and remember, doctors actually move jobs while they're training every 4 to 6 months to a new trust, they won't be able to move jobs. So actually, in an underhand way, they've made it very unclear. They're going to do it by the back door. The mandate is by far from over, and the care homes are responding to that. And I sent you a message today that I was passed, where a care home said to a staff member, you still have to prove to us what your vaccination status is. And actually, they offered them money to do that.
132 quid, right?
132 pounds.
To get 2 jabs.
To get 2 jabs.
You can get your job back if you get 2 jabs, and guess what? We'll give you 132 quid.
But
Can't imagine 132 quid is going to change their mind.
No, it probably isn't. But when you're on £10
But it's very
an hour,
sinister,
Kevin,
actually.
it's 2 days' work for some people.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of money.
But I mean, unilaterally, the health services seem to be wanting to continue the COVID crisis, to cling on to it for dear life. And as you say, we had Dr Steve James, you know, the NHS consultant from King's College Hospital, on last night, the one who confronted Sajid Javid with his own non-jabbed status, so rather successfully and sensationally. The video went viral. And, we were talking about this, that, yes, all of a sudden, it looks as if NHS staff, the 80,000 staff who have not yet been vaccinated, decided not to be vaccinated, quite legitimately, by the way, that although it looks as if they won't lose their jobs, although we don't know that for sure yet, because it has to go to consultation. Ridiculous. But let's be optimistic about that. It looks as if they won't lose their jobs, but they can't get promoted. They can't move to different NHS trusts. They can't pursue different career paths, because all new jobs that are advertising require proof of double jab.
With the support of government, let's be clear, this is coming from government, nowhere else. And it's coercion. You know, when you're offering people money to have a vaccine, or you're telling them they can't have a job unless they're double vaccinated, this is coercion. It's against all medical ethics as we know them.
And why is the government so obsessed with this? I mean, I keep saying it, but I don't want to overstep the mark, but it's a feeling in England, at least, that we're in the home straight here. You know, we're all leading reasonably normal lives. We can go to the pub, we can go to restaurants. There are no more vaccine passports. You know, there's a load of die-hard people who will insist on wearing masks, and the people like Sadiq Khan, Genghis Khan, the London mayor, of course, says you have to wear them on public transport, although only about 50% of people are, because he can't punish anyone. So there's still a bit of mask wearing going on, but to all intents and purposes, we're leading a pretty normal life, and we all know that if you get Omicron, you'll feel a bit rough for a couple of days and then you're okay. It's a bit like flu, because Steve James had it recently, and I asked him, I said, what was that like? He said, it's like a couple of days of the flu, really. Toby Young I had on this time last week, he said he barely noticed it. So why do we have to get vaccinated against catching a slight cold?
I don't know, but what's worrying me is if you look across Europe, all of the signs from Europe are lots of those countries, they've shortened the EU number of days that you can have counted as being vaccinated to 270, so 9 months, and then you're not vaccinated anymore, you need a booster. You've got some countries saying you cannot come in, France for example, without a vaccination, and it looks like Spain is going to follow. So why are they doing this? What is this for? Is this for the next Moderna and Pfizer that's coming along that could beat Omicron? Because these vaccines don't appear to be, but as you say, it tends to be mild.
But we don't particularly need to beat Omicron, do we? I mean, we should let Omicron just take its path, because, you know, more and more people are getting it. They're not dying. They don't have to go to hospital. In fact, they just get a little bit ill. Yeah, why are we fighting a virus that makes you a little bit ill? You know, as we said, and we've always said, unfortunately, there will always be some people who are vulnerable, and if they get a cold, whether it's Omicron or not, they will do badly. But we can't shut down the world. You can't organise the world around that. You can't. I mean, there are people who die of the common cold. There are people who die of the flu all the time. In fact, you know, but what was it, 1968 to 80,000 people in this country died of the flu. Barely made a headline. We're now panicking about a mild virus, aren't we? We are, and it doesn't make us bad people to say that, because what we care about, or what I care about more, is what we're doing in the interim to all of the other people who are suffering because of what they can and can't do. I was asked again today by my nursery to wear a mask to collect my child outside. I do not go into the classroom. It's just ridiculous. It's like, what have I christened them? COVID end deniers. Yes. It's like a sort of residual problem now. It's like a psychological problem. It is a psychological problem. People believe that we are in the midst of a massive crisis. We're not. We're coming out of it. And we've got to recalibrate the national mindset. Otherwise, God knows when this is ever going to end. And God help the people who live in Scotland and Wales, where they both have leaders that definitely are clinging on to the crisis for dear life. They love it. Handing down diktats, rules, regulations. We're going to do a story a bit later about Nicola Sturgeon's latest order, and it's going to it'll definitely beat the COVID crisis by soaring the bottom off school classroom doors. I mean, it's just insane. Let's try and regain a bit of sanity after the break and talk to some of our listeners who've called in.
Good talk.
Hot talk. Bold talk. Talk radio.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Watch it live on your smart TV. The world headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.